Yo, yo, yo. Time to make a video. That's usually the phrase. That's usually the rap, right? So I had a crazy dream last night, and I'm going to tell you guys about it. And Eric Loves Christ, this is for you, especially. I especially want to share this with you because it's just one of those dreams, right? But I think it will be pretty interesting. So anyway, this is what you don't really have to know anything. You don't have to know much before hearing this for it to make a lot of sense. But there's one thing you might want to look up or look into, and it is the band Avenged Sevenfold, and the lead singer, who is stage name M Shadows. He's a big dude, got big muscles, and he's a big dude, but he's not an old dude. He's like a young dude. He's like an our age dude. He's like a my age dude, but he's like, just ahead of it, a couple years older than me and ahead of the game. He wore aviators. He had like his big gauges in his ears, like lip piercing, like just bad dude, like bad boy kind of thing. So anyway, you don't really have to know who he is or look him up, but if you want to, it'll help add context. Also, if you know the procedures of doing ordinances in the temple with cards with family names on it, that will also add context. So anyway, I dreamt last night that it started off kind of funny and odd. Like I was in this pit or a pond or a pool with these guys. It's unusual. It was like not in the woods. It was near the edge of the woods, basically, kind of, or in someone's yard. And there was something in the pool. There was like a shark in the pool or an alligator. I think it was a shark in the pool or something. And people were like in there, and we were all hanging out. And we were like trying not to obviously trying not to die or whatever. It's interesting to try to explain this, but basically, we were all hanging out, and it was like everyone's kind of like just minding their own business. It was like me and a bunch of other guys my age, maybe some girls, but mostly guys. And we were all there just kind of like, it felt very low profile. It felt like I was keeping a low profile. It felt like I wanted to keep a low profile. And so we hung out around there and made jokes here and there and kind of like getting along or stuff like that. Everyone was just kind of chill, kind of shy, kind of high school in a way. Had a lot of crazy things going on. Everyone was pretty normal, pretty decently normal. And so that part of the dream ends, and somehow I kind of went off on my own. Like everyone dispersed from that place, and I kind of went off on my own. And I can definitely see some symbolism between my own life, where I was and where I am now, and friends and stuff like that. But long story short, I ended up going to this place, and it seems so normal because it just happened. So it's like, to explain it, it makes it sound way more unusual, which of course it is, because this is dream territory, this is dream subject, so it's weird. That's why I mentioned M Shadows. So before I get into M Shadows anymore, let me explain something. So there's this dude I grew up with, basically went to school with him. He rode my school bus, named Elliot, and he was a really cool guy. I really liked Elliot, but I was also afraid of Elliot a little bit because he was my size, and like when you're growing up as a guy, you kind of think sometimes in terms of like, could I take that guy? If we fought, could I take him? Well, I didn't necessarily feel that confident about Elliot. I never wanted to fight him, but I did know that if we did fight, it would be a hard fight. It would be a hard fight. Like, he might win. I don't want to sell myself out and say he would probably win, but you know what I'm saying? He was tall. He was my body size, but he was slightly taller. And he was solid muscle, not abnormally big muscle, but he was not slender. He was a step above slender, and was muscular. Later, and he wore aviators like M Shadows, and a lot of times he kind of reminded me of M Shadows. I've never been worried or afraid of M Shadows, really. Just kind of like thought of him as someone like I wanted to be like when I grew up, because I thought he was cool. Sang in a metal band, looked awesome. wore aviators, had tattoos, piercings, all that stuff. That's how I used to feel. And so Elliot is kind of like M Shadows in a way, but Elliot has that X factor to him. And I also found out later in life that his parents or his dad was like in a motorcycle gang, so he has this rough edge to him. And he did growing up too. Like, he would just like tell people straight up like what the deal was, and he wasn't afraid to unleash harsh truth at all. He just would and wouldn't care. Most of the time he was a pretty easygoing guy, but sometimes he was wrapped a little tight. And he could be a little, not explosive, but he could be a little powerful, if you know what I mean. And so, in this dream, I went through some kind of security, which was entering the house. But as soon as I entered the house, instead of being in a house, I was not in a house. I had kind of passed through a gate at the end of someone's long driveway, even though it looked like a house entrance. And now I was kind of in this world, which I couldn't escape. And it led down to the water. There were a couple gothic fancy cars nearby, or just expensive cars. It's hard to explain this vibe. It was fancy. It was gothic in a way, kind of like Avenged Sevenfold in a way. But it was also, it had this element to it that told me, you don't have to worry about this. This is not going to bother you. Meaning, these people can't hurt you. Was the vibe. But big old farm equipment up here. But with that said, it was a little scary, because there was a potential or a threat kind of feeling that there was still danger. Despite having that confirmation that I was going to be okay, there was still the need to exercise caution. You know how that is? You ever been somewhere where you're I'm going to be alright as long as I play it cool. As long as I don't stir them up, I'm going to be fine. It's like dealing with wasps. As long as you don't stir them up, you'll be fine. Or hornets. But it is best to avoid them, because they might sting for no reason. Right? Kind of like that vibe, really. So I get down to the water, and there's this little pier, and all these platforms out on the water, a big old rickety pier. Not necessarily rickety, but it just, because it had some substantiality to it. But there's a lot of people out there on these piers, just normal people. And it was this understanding that everyone was there, and it was kind of this understanding that this was actually a place to be. This was a cool place to be. And it was no, this is where you should be. This is where the cool kids are. This is the cool stuff, But also, I knew, because I could see 2020, and I could see, I could kind of see through it in a way. I don't want to say I could see it through it all the time, the whole time. Maybe I couldn't in the beginning. But M Shadows was there. M Shadows / Elliot was there. And he was famous, and he was the leader, and he did have the capacity to become completely unglued and become unstable. He did have a very strong, unpredictable vibe to him, and he also had a lot of random power he had access to that he could throw around at his will. This was his territory. This was his dominion. This is where he could say, I don't like you, so get the blank out, and then have you treated harshly. And his henchmen would just do that. They'd treat you harshly. And who knows what would happen? Maybe something of yours would get destroyed. Maybe something important you owned would get broken. Maybe you would get broken. Maybe you would get beat up. Maybe you would get a bone broken, or your nose broken, or who knows. But this is the feeling under the surface lingering. And he's there, and he's doing some kind of penmanship class in a way. It was kind of tattoo related. It was he was a tattoo artist, kind of, and he was teaching people how to do tattoos. But it wasn't on paper. It was it wasn't on skin. It was on paper. It was on some kind of surface. And I'm telling you, I don't want to make fun of it too much, but I'll just tell you, this dude was just he was just yeah. like, he was very insecure in a lot of ways, but it was unquestionable. You weren't allowed to question him. You weren't allowed to ever even think about questioning him, because if you did, you'd be thrown out. And it wasn't a simple matter just to be thrown out, because like I said before, you could be hurt. And so all these dudes are out there, and they're all writing and everything, and it's like, apparently this is an exclusive club. This is an elite sector of society that no one knows about, or that is like, if you are here, you're lucky, is the vibe. You are lucky to be here because you're with M Shadows, and you're doing, like, he's about to teach tattoo courses and everything. And I was there, and I was trying to figure out what was going on and everything, and he was like, all right, here you go. And he hands me, like, this paper, and he's basically like, all right, just sign this, here, just sign this. And it was like the application to do his course, but it also involved payment. And I was like, basically, like, I had to figure out the way to say it without everything you did and everything you said. You had to think of how to do it without making him mad. You get that vibe? Everything you did had to be done in a way that wouldn't make him mad. Eggshells. We're walking on eggshells. We're living this world. Everyone in this world besides him, basically, is on eggshells. Except for, like, his hot girlfriends. And basically, like, but even still, they had like a blind allegiance and obedience to him. And it was like, so I had to figure out how to tell him, like, dude, no offense, man, and with all due respect, I would love to do this course, but I can't afford it, man. Like, the simple matter of fact, like, I don't have any money to pay for this at all. So I'm not going to try to scam you and try to do this course for free. I'm not going to try to act like I've got it when I don't. I'm just going to be upfront with you right now. Like, dude, honestly, I can't pay for this. I'm sorry, man. I can't pay for it. But at the same time, like, if you want me to take this course, I'll take the course, This is the vibe. It was like he was an evil boss, and we were all his obligatory servants. And he's just like, all right. And he's like, just sign it anyway. Just fill it out anyway. Just don't worry about it. Just, like, fill it. Just sign your name. Just write your name down, basically. Just write your name down. Be done, And I was like, all right. So I just did a little scribble and, like, signed my name or whatever. And I'm, like, working with everybody else down there. And it was such an intense vibe. It was such a, dang, like, what the heck is going on here? And I did suddenly realize, like, I need to get out of here. I have to get out of here. Like, this is not, like, I'm not in a good place, And somehow I ended up, there's two different places I ended up being. Two different things happened. Two different segments of the dream took place that put me in different places besides this exact place, but they were connected to him and they were connected to this place. So the other one, somehow I got to a safe house, basically. I call it a safe house. It wasn't a safe house, but it was theoretically a safe house, location-wise. I was at a gas station, and there was still a lot of pressure of, like, he was watching. It was like, okay, dude, like, you slipped out and everything, but you got to come back, because, like, if you don't come back, he's going to be ticked, and he's going to come after you, and he's going to find you, and he's going to bring you back, and you're going to be in so much trouble, and he's going to do all of this, and he doesn't even care. Like, he might act like he likes you, but that could change at any second, the drop of a hat on a dime, And so there's that. But I was at this gas station, and I was getting gas, and then I realized something was going on. I realized, like, I had favoritism or something like that at this gas station. Or they were kind of looking at me like, hey, man, it's okay. Like, it's okay, man. And so I felt a little bit more comfortable. And then I ended up finding a bunch of DVDs in the trash can at the gas pump. And I was, like, trying to secretly get these DVDs, and a lot of them were, like, stolen materials from the gas station. Like, they were stolen movies that people had stolen, and then they got thrown in the trash, or it's like someone tried to steal something, and then they gave up, and then they just threw it in the trash and ran off. It was like that, And so that was interesting. And it was like a lot of stuff that I liked it, and so there was a risque element of it, of me like trying to get these DVDs, right? When it's like, this is not the best idea. You could get in trouble, and it's partially dishonest, and it's borderline, is this the right thing to do or not? It's borderline that this is not the right thing to do. So glad I got a nice shady parking spot. I feel so good here at school. Yes. Yay. Yay. And so I'm taking these DVDs out of the trash can, and I'm like putting them in my car. I'm like trying to keep a low profile and act like I'm not really doing anything, but I am. And there's like the X-Files Ultimate Collector set in there, and there's like missing pieces and everything, but I'm still grabbing it and everything. And so something happens, and I end up going back there to M Shadows or Elliot or whoever the dude is, and just kind of like being there. And things change, and he's like, all right, we're doing this now. Like, you got to do this, you need to do this, you need to do that, and you need to do this. He's like, starts dispersing everybody on their mission, basically. He's like a dark Lord of the Sith mission president. He's like an evil version of a mission president in a way. There's like a dark side of it. This is kind of how he's doing it. And so basically, he's like, you go with, and this is not the girl's name, but I'm just going to say it is. I don't know her name. Let's say her name's Patricia. He's like, you go with Patricia. And Patricia was like really attractive. She was like Kat Von D. Like, she was like LA style, black hair, piercings, super old Hollywood makeup, tattoos, like dressed all in black. Like, she was like that. And apparently we were going places to tell people about this thing that was going on that they needed to come to at his house. And it was kind of like, it was almost like an obligatory invitation. And I don't want to take too much longer on the stream. I got to get going. But, and the temple part's coming up soon. But, I was a good guy. I knew I was a good guy, right? And they didn't know I was a good guy. They didn't know who I was. They didn't know who I was. They couldn't tell who I was. They didn't know what my real intentions were. They just thought I was some dude that was there because he wanted to be and was going to just follow them and do what they wanted. And I was kind of playing along with that because I felt like I was on a covert mission in a way. So me and Patricia, this gothic girl, hit one of his henchmen, one of his girlfriends, we're going around and exploring, and we're kind of like in a marina, kind of like a marina where people live though. Like there's like little houses. It's like a little trailer park by the water in a way. And I've been to places like this before. And basically, we're going to people's doors. We're knocking on their door, and we're saying, "Hey, what's up?" And and these are not normal people. These are not good everyday people. These are dangerous people. These are people, and this community is within this underworld. We're in an underworld where normal people don't go. The police don't come here. Nobody. This place is above the law somehow, because bad stuff is happening all the time. There's like drug paraphernalia everywhere on people's patio porches, everywhere. And I've been to people's houses and seen places like this before, where it's like, yeah, we don't have to worry about the cops, so we just leave everything in plain sight because we don't even care. They never even come here, so don't even worry about it. It's like that, And so when we first met this dude at his door, or came into his house, we were kind of like looking at him and talking to him. And he was like, all right, I know you, Patricia. Like, I know you, or Priscilla, or whoever your name is. I know you. He's like, but he's looking at me, and he's thinking, he's like, but I don't know this guy. Who is this guy? I don't know this guy. Who is he? What does he want? Why is he here? What's he here for? What's he here for? What's this dude here for? A lot of that, And a lot of it's kind of just thought. I can feel his thoughts and read his thoughts and see it and feel it. But he kind of says it a little bit, and I have to kind of prove why I'm there. That I'm actually not a threat. That I am actually supposed to be there. I have to kind of convince this guy I'm supposed to be there. and she's kind of covering for me in a way, because she kind of knows and she kind of picks up on it as well. And after all, she doesn't want any trouble. She just wants to do her job and get out of there, basically. And it's kind of like we're there to tell him and tell everybody about, like, hey, there's a party at Elliot's house, let's say, and you know what that means. So you better be there, right? We've got an arrangement with you. We've got a supply with you. You're a buyer, or we're a buyer, or we're a seller, or you're a seller. And if you don't come, we'll kill you. Kind of thing like that. So it's like they say all that without saying it, because it's supposed to be. It's like this is all part of his game. His game is he has friends because he forces them to be his friends. They don't have a choice whether they're his friends or not. But if they choose not to be his friend, he loses it. And what that means remains to be seen. And so we end up getting over to this other lady's house after we survived that awkward encounter with this dude. We get to this other lady's house, and she's kind of like in rough shape. She's kind of like overweight, but she has like a sweet spirit, and her face is like really, like there's pock marks in her face, and there's like, she just looks really rough. And she's unsure, but she's down, but she's unsure. And there's drug stuff on her table too. And she's like in her purse. She has her purse, and she's like talking. She's like, yeah, okay, yeah. And we're like, yeah, you need to come over here. Like, you don't, like, this is what's going on. So you're coming, right? You're coming, right? Right. And she's like, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. And she has like but she's still not sure. She's just like not quite there, kind of confused. And she has her purse out. And I see on her purse, she has family name cards for the temple. And I was like, hey. I stopped and like didn't make a big deal of it, but I kind of subtly said, like, as Patricia was walking away, I kind of like, or she turned away, I was standing there, I was like, hey. It's like, that's a really good thing that you're doing there. That's a really good thing, And she was kind of like, oh, it is? Like, what? She was kind of like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, it's such an awesome thing, Like, that's good. I'm glad you're doing that. That's really good, I'm really glad you're doing that. You're doing good. You're doing a good thing. You're doing really good. And she was like, yeah. And it was kind of waking her up a little bit and helping her see the light, basically. But I couldn't blow my cover, basically. But anyway, I get back there to the place, to the compound, let's say, at the pier where everybody's hanging, and Elliot, or M Shadows, is there. And he's totally like, he's unstable, completely unstable. And he senses that I'm at odds with him. That's the way he interprets it, that I'm at odds with him. Because I don't want to be there anymore. And that I need to leave. I have to get out of there. And he's just like, he's so mad, but at the same time, he feels like there's not much he can do. He feels like he has to let me go. He feels like he's not bound to keeping me there. He has to let me go. But he's mad. And he has my phone, and there's a rumor going around that, like, dude, he'll destroy your stuff. Like, he doesn't even care. Like, he'll throw your phone in the water. He doesn't even care, And inside, I'm like, no, man. I'm like, please. Thinking like, man, please don't let him throw my phone in the water. Please don't let him throw my phone in the water. On some level, I'm thinking that, And he takes my phone. He's like, yeah. Take it. He's like basically swears at me and says, get the blank out of here, basically, and he's like laughing angrily and is so happy about what he's about to do. And he takes my phone and he goes, yeah, and throws it at me, but straight into the water next to me, basically. And I like got down real quick and like got halfway in the water, laying down, and reached my arm into the water. It's like the water is dirty and murky and you don't know what's in there and you can't just jump in. It's like dangerous, And so I quickly just reach into the water real quick. And I got my phone as it was going. It was sinking in the water. And it was like not even a foot below the surface. And I had grabbed it in my hand and I had full grasp of it. And I pulled it out of the water. It was in the water and out of the water so quick that it was like it was going to make it. It was going to survive. It was not going to be damaged. I know it sounds kind of funny, but people value their phones sometimes because of whatever reason, like what it is, what it does, what it has on it, or things like that, or just value or whatever. And to me, this was a lifeline, though. It was like, I have to have my phone. I can't not have it. And that also reflects the sad part of reality where we can be addicted to our phones too much. But, yeah, so I reached in the I grabbed my phone real quick and I got it. He was kind of angry. But it was like, that was kind of like where the dream ended, because then at that point I left and I got out of there. But it was crazy. It was like this whole underworld. It was nuts. It was really nuts. So anyway, that's my dream I wanted to tell you about. So let me know your thoughts.